Okay. Maybe I should button this up once. Maybe. There. We'll do that. Okay. Come on. Hello, it's me. Hello from the other side. I am taking my dad's truck to Bonner's Ferry because we borrowed it, because we bought a bed for our new place, which I've already talked about in a video that at this moment I have not edited but did shoot about the new place and why we moved. And now I'll be driving to Bonner's, and you guys can watch me talk for a little bit. And today I'd like to talk about Grant Cardone, how he's inspired me, and also how this applies to my work and my new job, which is a subject that I wanted to talk about. So, I got introduced to Grant Cardone not in person, but through some of his sales training stuff. I remember, I still have it. It's called The Road to the Sale. I worked as a car salesman at a place called Riverside Auto Center in Bonner's Ferry for about 2 months. I quit because their attitudes, and I'm sorry if this gets back to you guys there that work at Riverside. I totally lied to you about why I left. My bad. But their attitudes were not great. They could project, fake attitudes, like a fake good attitude towards the customer, which, was part of the whole thing. But they would always be screaming at each other and arguing, disagreeing, and it just was not a very well-run place, I didn't enjoy being around them, so I couldn't take it. I had to leave. But I did take away some good things from that. I mean, sales in and of itself is like just a higher tier of customer service, and you're bringing your customer service to the next level rather than just, can I get you anything else? You are actively searching, and offering items rather than just asking, hey, is there anything I can get you? What else can I do for you today? I mean, those questions are still involved, but it's different. Let me turn off the AC here a little bit. I'll turn it down. But for the sales training, they gave us, or me and the guy I was working with, who I also went to high school with, he left not long after me, Grant Cardone, The Road to the Sale. And I listened to that thing, and it was great. I love it. I want to listen to it again. And that's how I got introduced to Grant Cardone. There's some good stuff in there, and obviously a lot of the thing, it's focused on auto sales, but you learn that it's applicable to many areas of your life. And you can go on YouTube and watch Grant Cardone's videos, and he'll kind of say some stuff like that. Like, I actually watched a video recently where it's not just auto sales, like you learn how to sell yourself. And it's true. Ever since that, I've applied The Road to the Sale, which is, I think, if I remember correctly, a 14-step process to selling a vehicle. You can take those, and while the process, some things might differ in between, you go in for a job interview and you use that, you're going to get the job, guaranteed. So far, since then, I have not applied for a job where I got an interview and didn't get it. I mean, I got this job at Mike White Ford. I went in there for an interview, and they offered me the position. My job before that at North 40, I went in for an interview. They offered me the position, right there. And then even in Spokane, when I was living in Spokane, I went to a couple interviews. One at Yokes, and I went in for an interview. I left, and as I was leaving the parking lot, they called me saying, "Come back, we want to offer you a position," which is a total sales trick that I learned from Grant Cardone, and it works. And the reasoning behind it is because people are like 70% more likely to buy a vehicle the second time they return to the dealership, or rather the second time they go to the dealership. So if they go and then you call them and they return, then they're more likely to buy. And so that would work. Like if they're like, "Oh, I don't know," and then they're like waiting on some information, or they're waiting on the right car, you let them leave, and then you call them right up afterwards, even if you can still see their car leaving. "Hey, call me right back," or "Come back, I got some great news for you," and just don't tell them the information until they come back, which is smart. But I got offered that, and then at Rosar's, the job that I took, I went in to hand in my resume, got an interview, and got hired on the spot. And so that sales training, since I've applied it to other areas of my life, it's just totally changed things. It's changed the way I look at things. And the number one thing from that sales training, the first step to the road to the sale, is attitude. Let me maybe get this over here. There we go. Now I'm not all bright-faced over here. It's attitude. That's the number one most important thing. Without a good attitude, how are you going to sell a vehicle? How are you going to convince anybody of anything, even if it's true? You know, you got to have a good attitude. Attitude is everything. You know, you have the attitude, you have the greeting. You know, it's got to be professional. And then you go into the needs and wants, which in an interview, you go in with a good attitude. You introduce yourself, you know, and then you do this whole greeting thing that's very personal and mixed with professionalism. You get to learn them. Get to learn them as people a little bit. Know their playing field. And then you go into the needs and wants, which is, in a job interview, what do they expect of me? What do I expect of them? You get to learn that stuff. And then at the end, you know, you get to negotiate your wages and everything. And then I guess if you don't get hired on the spot, then it's in their court or your court. Really, you should, if you don't hear from them, you know, very soon, call them, and that would be called the follow-up, which is awesome. One time I wrote a letter to somebody I sold the car to, and they came back in just to thank me about writing them a letter. And it was an awesome feeling. I did love selling cars. I just didn't like doing it there. But anyway, more to how Grant Cardone has changed things. I've been watching more of his YouTube videos and just expanding a lot of stuff. And you listen to a couple of them and they might sound the same, but then you listen to more and there's deeper meanings that he gets to in each one. Although, like, if you're not really listening, you don't quite get it. But you gotta listen. And the big thing that you can take away from it, to go back to it, is attitude. His attitude is awesome. He inspires me because he has such a great attitude. And like he says, he's an introvert, but he goes out there, he makes deals all day, and he gets what he wants. He goes for it. You know, he's not afraid, or maybe he is afraid, but he conquers his fear, and he goes for it. In fact, I think I watched a video where he said that you gotta do what scares you. And that's one of the big reasons I took the job at Mike White Ford, is because I've been working retail forever. For me, I mean, I'm young, so I did it for 5 years. I became a department head at North 40, and then I realized I'm bored of this, I want more, and so I went and applied for this, and now I'm changing oil for more money than what I was making as a department head. And I decided to take the job for a few reasons. I mean, the benefits are really good and all that, and the schedule was way nicer, so I get to hang out with my family more now, because now in retail, you know how it is if you work retail. The schedule is always whatever you need, wherever you need to go. You don't know if you're working overtime until last minute, and your days off could be 13 days apart. You know, it's crazy. This doesn't happen there. I work Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5. That's what I do. And I get Saturday, Sunday off, always, guaranteed. It's awesome. I love it. And it's great. And I did it mainly because I was scared. I was scared to change careers because I thought, hey man, you know, I've got this hobby of doing vehicles, you know, vehicle work. What if I get in here and I just don't like anything I'm doing and I hate it, and then I go back to retail, which I hate too. But I figured if I was scared of it, I should go towards it because it was unfamiliar territory. And even though I'm starting at the bottom again, I've worked my way up once. Actually, I've worked my way up plenty of times. It's just that North 40 was the first time I got to the department head position. But I know how to work. I know how to have a good attitude. I know what to say, what not to say most of the time. I'm still learning. Everybody learns. You learn as you go along. I mean, it's different with every person you see. But I'm enjoying it so much. And I never thought I would have this much fun changing oil. I mean, you get in there and you get given a vehicle or a repair order. In this case, it basically says change the oil, and there may or may not be a tire rotation. And for diesels, there may be fuel filters, or, you know, for all vehicles, there might be change the windshield wipers, change the air filter, change the cabin air filter. And you do that, and you get like an hour per vehicle. But for most of the things now, even after just like a month and a half, I've been able to get, unless I'm doing like a big truck, if I'm doing like an F-150 or something the same size or smaller, I can do oil change, tire rotation, and inspection in roughly 30 minutes. If I'm trying to reach that mark. If I'm just taking my time, it might end up like 45 minutes. It might take longer if there are complications, like if they want a tire rotation and the lug nuts are swollen, so I can't get my socket on them, then we have to go ask the customer, do you want to buy new lug nuts? You know, and then they may or may not. Some of them throw a fit about it, which happens in whatever line of work you work in. But my point is, I was scared and I ran towards it, and now I'm much happier. I'm making more money. My schedule is better than it ever has been before. And not only that, but I have the opportunity to learn, not just through experience, but online courses supplied by Ford that I can learn and grow and become an actual technician and make lots of money at flat rate, you know. In 10 years, I might be making $30 an hour, which seems big to me right now. But as Grant Cardone said, another thing he said, you don't even know what big is. And I love that. And he even used himself as an example. He always was saying to himself, you know, man, that's big. But then he would get there, and then it just wouldn't be big, and the next thing would be big, and then he would get there, and then it's just not big anymore. You don't even know what big is. And that's the thing. You got to stop thinking small-mindedly, which goes back to your attitude. Is your attitude going to be one where $15 an hour is enough? You know, like, oh, well, I guess the work I'm doing is worth $15 an hour. Fuck no. Are you worth $15 an hour? Because I know that I'm worth more than $15 an hour. $15 an hour is a bullshit wage. I mean, for me, for an adult, I don't know. I mean, hell, if you're a teenager and you want more than $15 an hour, go get more than $15 an hour. You know, another thing that Grant Cardone says is, like, who's got your money? And whose money do you got? My job has my money. I go there, I work, they give me my money. That money is already mine. I just haven't got it yet. And that money's not even my money, because it's going to go towards my rent. My money that I have is somebody else's money. I'm giving them their money. That's what's going on. I'm not looking to save massive amounts of money. I mean, don't get me wrong, savings is a good thing. You can save to buy bigger things if you don't want to use credit. You can save for a down payment on a vehicle. You can save for emergencies in case you don't want to go and, I don't know. There's lots of scenarios where saving is a great thing, but I don't want to have to rely on my savings. I don't want to have to rely on each and every paycheck that I get. I want to be able to take unpaid time off and not worry about it. I want to be able to take off whatever time I want. And this goes back, I guess, actually, this is related to another video I did called I'm Tired of Not Getting What I Want. And I think I made that after I watched the video about not knowing what big is. Because I'm tired of not getting what I want, and I will always be tired of not getting what I want. And you should too. You gotta have a good attitude. When you go to work, here's another thing Grant Cardone said, you show up. And that doesn't just mean being there physically. You show up. You know, you show up your coworkers. You show up and you show up on everything you do. You bust your ass and you do the best job possible. And before you know it, the best job possible that you started with is going to be nothing compared to what you could do then. You go to work and you show up. That's what you do. And that's how you have a good work ethic. And you go to work, and if you have something to complain about, maybe stop and think. Is it really something that you need to complain about? If you have a coworker with a bad attitude that makes you angry, and you really want to say something to piss them off, create conflict, does it really matter? No, I'll tell you why. Because I've had coworkers like that, and people that aggravate you, if you just keep your mouth shut, you're going to go way further than them, because their attitude is going to hold them back. You don't want to focus on their attitude. You need to focus on your attitude. Your attitude will create success for you. Their attitude, in a way, will also create success for you because it eliminates them as competition. And also, it doesn't do anything for them. All they're doing is making you look better. So, just don't give in to that anger. It's terrible. Just don't do it. Keep your mouth shut. Have a good attitude. Shrug it off. It doesn't matter because you will go further than them. And eventually, you won't even have to worry about them. And then you'll be their boss or something. Eventually, somebody else is going to tell them to behave. So, if you're still here on this video, just look into these things. I recommend Grant Cardone. He's got some good stuff. He started from the bottom and he's on top now. And he says some things that I'm sure some people can disagree with. But you got to look at a bigger picture. How can you apply it to the way you think? That's your attitude. You shouldn't say, "Oh, well, I don't agree with that." No. Take what he says and see if you can apply it even in the slightest way, even if it's only like 5% of that thing you disagree with. How can you transform that into something that you do agree with? What area of your life? What's the big picture of what he says? What's the big picture of what anybody says? The advice you get, apply it in a positive way. Don't just ignore it. If somebody says, the Democrats did this, and you're a Republican, and you disagree, I'm not choosing sides in this part right now, by the way. Just take their advice, even if you disagree with it, take their opinion, and see where you can apply it in your own life. Even if it has nothing to do with the related area. How can you put a positive spin on it to make your life better? My attitude has changed greatly. So has my wife's, since we've been watching Grant Cardone on YouTube, since I discovered Grant Cardone. And my career has only taken off much more, and I'm much more confident now than I ever have been ever since I started taking the stuff he says and trying to apply it to my own life. And one of his big things, he has whole seminars about this, is 10x, and it means set your goals 10 times higher than what you actually want. And so basically, if you really look at it, you want to set your bar as high as you can ever go. Because if you want 10 times more, if you want to set your goal for 10 times higher than what you want, then you're limiting yourself, right? And the idea is to not limit yourself. And also, it's better to fall short of a very high goal than one that is low. Don't set the bar for what you need, set it above that. Because if you fall short of your goal then, you might at least have what you need. And best case, you'll have a lot more than that. It's great. It's a great stuff. I recommend it. Anyway, I've been going on for about 20 minutes now about this, and it's probably about time for me to get off this whole video thing, because I've been ranting and raving, and if anybody's finished this still, then congratulations. Out of the 53 subscribers I have currently, maybe another one who's watched this, I hope. It would be really cool. It would be really cool if Grant Cardone saw this. I wouldn't mind meeting him. In fact, I'll ask him, hey Grant, do you have like a couple $100 you can send my way? Because I'd really like to buy some stuff. I have certain things that I want to buy. But yeah, if you got a couple $100, I'll take it. Anyway, that's my message for you today. My Grant Cardone and my job spiel. And hopefully you find this video to inspire you somehow on how to set your goals. And you know, creating these videos for me, whenever I go through what inspires me, it's not just giving whoever watches that. It's also, truth be told, it gives me a pep talk to myself. And sometimes you just gotta do that. You gotta tell yourself to be confident, because we all get down. You gotta tell yourself, you know, you're better than that. Just as you would handle objections from a customer, handle objections with yourself. I mean, it's another thing that Grant Cardone did, was he would go through and write down objections he says to himself and come up with responses. You know, one of mine might be, you're inexperienced and you'll never amount to the other people that you work with that are above you, which is not true. You'll get there. Take those negative thoughts, shove them aside, tell them no, they're wrong. And like, I can justify mine because I've climbed the ladder before. I've succeeded before in things that I'm professionally inexperienced with. And I got there. And I'm gonna get there again. So, just go for it. Don't give up. Have a good attitude. Attitude is everything. Don't forget that. Have a good attitude. Goodbye.